Hello everybody and welcome back to another severe storm film or weather forecast. Let's get started by timing out any systems that we have coming through in the next couple days here. And for example, here you can see we're likely going to have a little bit of cold air intrusion coming out of Canada as we go into the weekend time frame. By then, we'll likely begin to be watching our next piece of energy in the west coast of the United States. That will likely allow for a winter storm to break out in that region, potentially with more cold air surging in behind this. But at the same time, we'll likely begin to see some warm Gulf moisture beginning to lift out ahead of this. So once we go into this time frame, this will likely allow for thunderstorms in this region, which could be strong to severe with a cold front breached right here, something like that. It's likely not going to be that setup. But as we go into this time frame, all indication is that this thing becomes a line, and it'll likely be a line of thunderstorms consisting of significant damaging winds, especially in this highlighted region right here. We'll also have some snowfall behind it with very, very cold air intruding on the backside of that cold front as we go into that time frame. So just keep in mind of that. This will likely continue to race on east. The cold front still breached there. Showers and thunderstorms likely to break out in this region. Potential severe weather outbreak not out of the question as we go into that time frame. Then as we go into this time frame, will likely dry out with high pressure dominating over much, if not all, of the country as we go into this time frame. Then by then, we're watching about potential for another warm Gulf of Mexico system that will likely allow for more rainfall in the east coast of the United States, potentially with another cold frontal boundary, nasty, intense storm setup, potentially with cold air intruding on the backside of that. That was the GFS model guidance. Now let's check out our Euro model guidance here. You can see that still roots out a severe weather threat for this region, particularly focused in the Carolinas region on the coastlines, potentially some water spouts before the severe weather threat ends as we go into that time frame. Then as we go into this time frame, we'll likely begin to see some snowfall and some colder air intrusion coming out of Canada, and this will potentially lead to a big storm system in the east coast and central United States. This will also be a cause from that, and I'll explain what that cause is towards the end of the video. It has something to do with the jet streams, but I'll explain everything on the next side of this video here. All indication is that we get some colder air intrusion for the northeast as we go into Monday, maybe a shot of snow. And then as we go into this time frame, this is when we'll likely begin to start seeing this Gulf of Mexico moisture potentially rich in these regions right here. Near 60 degrees in the lower Ohio Valley. That is rich Gulf of Mexico moisture for this time of year with a cold front breach right there. And as we go into this time frame into that Tuesday afternoon and evening time frame, we'll likely begin to start seeing kind of this development of this cold front along this boundary right here. And this will likely spell trouble. Yes, you guessed it, trouble. You guessed it, we're likely going to have a full organized line of severe thunderstorms here in the Ohio Valley as we go into early Wednesday morning as of right now. Timing can still fluctuate with this, along with a potential blizzard on the northern and western hinges of that low pressure system. This will likely wrap in as we go into this time frame, potentially with strong gusty winds everywhere you look with the system, particularly with the rainy part of the system and the thunderstorm part of the system, of course. Potential severe weather for this region as that moves off to the east, gain some daylight heating as we go into that time frame. Then potentially a little bit of a snowfall event as we go into this time frame for the northeast. And by this time frame, we're tracking another storm system out of the Gulf of Mexico. Do these two pieces of the jet phase together to create this system? That is definitely uncertainty here, but you can see there's definitely the potential for some rich Gulf of Mexico moisture to come flying in with this, potentially with severe weather in the southern flank of the system. We're going to have to see how this low positions itself. Maybe it positions itself up here, which is the most unlikely occurrence right now. It is likely going to be south and east of the Ohio River Valley there. But as we go into this time frame, all indication is that both models are in agreement that we'll likely have, by the time we get into the first few days of March, another breached system that will likely allow for another cold front, maybe it lifting up into the northeast again, allowing for that Gulf moisture to fly on in there. That is really going to be something to watch as we go into that time frame, because maybe we may get a potential severe weather event as we go into that time frame with some of those systems. Here is a scale I decided to create myself, and you can see here this is related to thunderstorms and severe weather here. If you are in a level 1 shade right here, this just means a very small risk for severe thunderstorms, though not out of the question. Low confidence or lack of model agreement. We'll likely have some of that on our map in the next slide. Sorry to spoil it. But anyways, a level 2 risk on my scale is isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms expected with a hail and wind risk expected, which means I'm not anticipating tornadoes. Then as you get up into the little bit of the brighter tones here, the yellows here, scattered severe thunderstorms, all threats may be possible, and this is where a hatched risk could be issued. So be aware of that. Slight risk is the first one in the Storm Prediction Center's office as of right now. But number 4 here is basically an enhanced risk for Storm Prediction Center, but I'm not going by that for mine. I'm just going to say for this orange shade, which would be enhanced for the Storm Prediction Center, significant severe storms possible and or an outbreak possible. So if you're above this orange color, if you have a red shade by the Storm Prediction Center, obviously that's a sign and yelling for concern, because that could potentially signify that you could be potential for a tornado outbreak in that shaded region. But as we go into this red shade here on this scale, you can see a significant severe weather outbreak of all types of severe weather is imminent or expected soon. I will rarely have these on here except when derecho events occur, which will likely be on there, or tornado outbreaks, of course, this summer, spring and summer. And as we go into number 6, the most rarity one for the Storm Prediction Center, I might use this one a lot whenever we get derechos like that are ongoing here. Significant winter tornado event that could be deadly is expected, and you need to act quickly in this case. So if we ever see that pink on my map for any day in your shaded region, please be weather aware. And taking a look at my Tuesday and Wednesday severe weather threat here, you can see I'm anticipating a small risk of severe weather in this bright white shades, well, kind of grayish shades right there. So you have a small chance of seeing strong to severe thunderstorms through the day on Tuesday and Wednesday. And this is combined, by the way. And as you can see, number 2 here, level 2 threat for much of the Gulf Coast, the Ohio River Valley, getting up into the all of the state of Ohio, getting up into the southern half of Michigan, perhaps some isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms there with wind and hail expected. Then we also have an all threat potential with this yellow here. I'm watching to see if we'll get, this is important because we're going to be watching this to see if we can potentially update this. Hopefully not, but we're going to have to watch closely and see, do we upgrade this yellow and do we have a brighter color in there? That is something to be depicted, and that is not something we're going to lean on right now. But let me tell you, there is the potential of this becoming like a low-end severe weather outbreak. So stay with me for updates. I also have some recommended channels I'm going to list at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's talk about how this trough is going to develop, all right? So you're probably wondering how this develops, and you're probably wondering why I'm showing the jet streams on my page right here. Well, look at this. This is the polar jet, all right? It's not really dipping that much. It's really locked in Canada right now. So all of the below freezing temperatures and such are up here. However, we will have that wave coming down. That's why we'll likely see some below average temperatures tomorrow. But anyways, let's get to the chase here as we go into this time frame. You can see, look how this polar jet tries to phase with this subtropical jet right here. We're likely not going to see much with this, considering that we won't have ingredients for it right away, especially talking that we will start to see this thing become submerged with the subtropical jet here. Maybe some rainfall for these regions with that system right there, especially if it brings a lot of moisture with it. As we go into Sunday, we'll likely see another wave of polar jet coming out of Canada. This is likely going to be a bit of a stronger hit, so this is more so of a one we're going to need to watch. Now, all right, you can see these wind barbs. These are pointing in the direction the wind is flowing, all right? So this Pacific jet is coming on shore. We're going to be watching this to see, does this touch the Pacific jet? Well, obviously it does, because watch what happens, all right? As long as we have these little waves in this jet stream, we're going to potentially be talking about trough development here, all right? And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, you can see that just happens here to be as we go into this time frame with the cold front kind of building up still as we go into that time frame. But you can see the two jets have submerged as we go into this time frame, all right? You can see polar jets trying to submerge with that, and that's likely going to create activity for this entire region going into Tuesday afternoon. And when this jet moves east, you can see that's likely going to begin to start showing off severe weather in this region. You can see the two jets touch as we go into this time frame, and you can see that there's also some pretty bitterly cold air behind what we're going to call this, probably around here where the wind direction changes. The cold front probably drapes somewhere like right here as we go into that time frame. Not going to say that for sure, but this is definitely something to keep an eye on, and this could potentially be a submerged pattern for a severe weather outbreak with this. So guys, that was a little bit of education for you, but you can see right here as we go into this time frame, you can see that this whole thing turns into the polar jet and will likely allow for a really big burst of cold air to move in by the time we get into late next week. And then what's interesting, what I find interesting at least, is that we get high pressure in here in the first couple days of March. Not going to say this is definite, but this could definitely dominate our weather pattern. And you saw on the Euro model, I mentioned that high pressure system, but I also mentioned another storm system here. All right, we're going to be watching these two, and look at this. We still have that big ridge along with already polar air coming out of Canada. All right, so this one could potentially be another one to watch as we go into that time frame. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly what it shows, but look at this. And by the time we get into this time frame of the 4th, we already will have, as of right now, a bowling ball trough. All right, and these typically are responsible for the past tornado outbreaks we get, all right? And this is going to allow for much colder than normal air to fly in from Canada. We're also going to allow much warmer than normal air to rise northward. All right, so this one could be a little bit more intense if this happens, definitely, than the one we're about to experience now. All right, I'm just not going to let anyone off guard. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm trying to keep y'all weather aware just in case of something like this bowling ball trough happening just so you could potentially prepare for a tornado outbreak if it were to happen here. All right, so basically, here's my severe weather forecast for the first week of March here. And you can see it's pretty complex here with that bowling ball trough potentially happening here. I added this red shade because I'm super confident in a potential tornado outbreak occurring down here in the Gulf of Mexico. And if that warm front does happen to lift a little bit further north, like it might be showing, we could potentially be talking about severe weather for Ohio and Michigan as we go into that time frame. Not going to say it for sure. That's why it's in that possible yellow shade. But in this green shade, nothing to worry about. Just need to be weather aware a little if that storm system does develop, because if that low were to go as far north as Wisconsin, that would potentially lead to a severe weather event there. That is why some of Wisconsin is not covered, because the bowling ball trough would not be coming through at an administered time as of right now. That's why I have it in the green possible shade. But hey guys, that's all I have for ya. Some recommended YouTube channels for seasonal forecasts, or basically just any other weather forecast information you like to know. Weather on the Go, One Nation Weather, Weather Watcher, Mr. Storm, and Max Velocity. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any important weather forecasts.